y'all, it's Nikki. Springtime in Texas means rodeo season, and starting on March 14th, Rodeo Austin will take over the Travis County Expo Center. Rodeo Austin is a not-for-profit that provides real experiences and gritty fun. We're talking a pro rodeo, one-of-a-kind concerts, a carnival, and a livestock show. Y'all, there is so much to do, and the best part? It raises millions of dollars for Texas kids. So come be a part of Real Texas Grit. Get your tickets today at rodeoaustin.com. That's rodeoaustin.com. See y'all there. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair and they're handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable. I even got them customized with leather stamping. The folks at Tecovas will help you find just the right pair. So swing by for yours at the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a new store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of y'all that live a little further north. So come shop with me at Tecovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Austin, in just 5 years, Destin Bell has moved to Austin, started an app, gotten a Shark Tank deal, and is already giving back to the city. Meanwhile, social media has made running more popular, and his app, Cardio, has taken off. He's here to talk startups, running, and what it's like to move to Austin without knowing anyone. It's Tuesday, February 25th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here today with Destin Bell, founder and CEO of Cardio. What's up, Destin? How are you?
Better than I deserve, Nikki. How are you?
No such thing. So I am excited to talk to you. First of all, not for nothing, I gotta talk about how excited I was when I came on and you are a Black person. That is exciting for me. So congratulations.
Did you not know that before? Did you not know
I
that
did
before?
not. I like to be surprised.
Great.
I like when I come on just to see the face and be like, oh, okay, all right. I love it. So
I got you.
We're going to get into it. There are more than 90 run clubs in Austin, and our marathon is now 25th in the country. It's still relatively small, but we had 7,300 marathon runners, which is, I guess, our biggest one yet. It was like a 35% increase from last time. So we've been growing. Do you think Austin is the next best running town?
I think it is. When you look at a lot of the larger run clubs, so Endorphins Run Club, they have a big presence here. Raw Dog Run Club, which is a big one that just popped up last year, has got a huge presence. They popped up here. And then a lot of other ones that are quite sizable that have 200, 300 people come every weekend to come and run 3 to 5 miles with each other. I think that Austin has a lot of upside. It's a very diverse city in that there's so many different places to run. You got road running, but then you also got a 10-mile trail in the middle of the city. You got all these different trails, neighborhoods, lakes around Mueller, all these different places that people can run. It's also usually pretty warm here too, without being overtly like humid as well, because Florida is always warm, but it just feels like you're running in a sauna. I just think it's a great city. I love running here. I find that when I run here versus other places, it just gives me more year-round enjoyment for my running than other cities I go to. Now, summer's a little hot, so I'll say that. Outside the summer, it's like 9-10 months of ideal running weather.
So now that actually is a great segue into my next question. What do you think is behind running's popularity here in Austin? Is it the weather? Is it that it's not humid? Is it that the way our city maps out lends to it? We have a lot of green spaces. We cater to runners. What do you think is the big deal behind it?
I think it's a mix of all those things. I think it's a very young city. And so as people get out of their college years, we stop playing organized sports as much, and a lot of people don't have these third spaces that they can find people, outside of work and at home. People don't have a lot of places they can just go to, especially in their 20s. And so people are always looking for places where they can have genuine interactions. And yeah, you could do that on 6th Street or Rainey Street, but people, including myself, find the interactions I have with people in fitness organizations way more meaningful. I meet people at bars and whatnot, but those are very unmeaningful conversations. They're usually based around dancing and drinks. You might not even remember the conversation you had the next day. And then if you go there and spend $100 on drinks and you don't really get anything out of it beyond maybe meeting somebody cool, whereas at a run club, at the gym, at a yoga class, there's a lot more value to be gained from it beyond actually meeting people. So I think people are starting to use that as their predominant third space. As that joke, your girlfriend's not at the club, she's at a run club. So I think as these jokes continue, people are finding that they enjoy going to these places. Even people who don't run, we got walkers now who go to run clubs just for the community aspect of it. So I think it's a mix of that. I think it's a mix of the weather. I think it's a mix of the fact we have all these green spaces. I mean, how many legitimate metropolitan cities have a giant 10-mile trail in the middle of downtown, right?
Right.
So I think it's a collection of all those things that make Austin a great place for people to pick up and run.
Now, I will say this. I am not a runner. So imagine my surprise when I found out that people get together in bulk and just run with each other. So a friend of mine invited me to this new, maybe it's not new, it's new to me, this new thing where it's like a black run club, I think it is.
Yeah, we outside on Saturday morning.
We outside, yes. My friend invited me.
That's one of my favorite ones. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so my friend invited me to We Outside, and I was like, I don't run. And that's when she was like, oh no, people walk too. That's a game changer. That's a game changer for me. I love community. I'm very extroverted. I love talking and chit-chatting and all of that, but I'm like, I'm not gonna kill myself trying to run. But the opening of there being an option to just walk and meet new people is huge. And I don't think a lot of people know that that's an option, because I sure didn't until like 2 weeks ago.
Well, run club sounds like running in a club.
Yeah.
So if you don't run,
yeah.
It's not really your thing. But I feel like run clubs are becoming a lot more inclusive, because it used to be, especially like pre-COVID, early 2021 and whatnot, the run clubs were specifically just for people who run. So the type of people who got their Garmin watches and they got their brand new Hokas or Asics or whatnot, who are competing to try to qualify for Boston or some other place, who are very performance-based, goal-oriented runners would get together. But now, again, going back into that point of people are looking for these organic third spaces, especially post-COVID, to interact with people in meaningful ways. All of a sudden, run clubs became almost like a social club more than a run club. And so now that's led to people who are not runners, who just want to go there for the community to start showing up. And that has incorporated people in walking now. So
listen, she almost has me convinced. It's super early, but she almost has me convinced.
It's great. I go pretty much every Saturday I can. It's great.
All the pictures I see, it makes me jealous every time I look at them.
Yeah, I highly recommend that one.
Now I gotta go. So you mentioned this. It brings me to my next question. You moved here, peak pandemic, in October of 2020 without knowing anyone. And I'm always fascinated by people that have the guts and bravery to do something like that. How did you meet people? Did you meet people through running?
It's a multitude of different things I did. So COVID was a weird time because there wasn't really as many in-person things. And then also this is before run clubs really had that huge spike that they saw in like end of 21, 22. So before I did any of that, I was literally going on Eventbrite, finding tech events on Zoom, and I would just go and I would DM people who were on the attendee list, and I would try to make friends, professional contacts, et cetera, like that. There was this other platform called, I want to say it was called Lunch Club. That was pretty much like a random one-on-one Zoom call generator where you would go on there and you would specify, oh, I want to meet people between this age, who live in this city, who do this kind of work. And then it would automatically set you up for like a 30-minute call. So some of my very first friends I met through that. I remember I started going to F45, which is this HIIT class gym place. And so I got a membership there, and I would just literally go there just to meet people. And I just actively was just seeking out people in any place I can. I'm a super extrovert. I'm not afraid of conversation. I'll spark up a convo with a brick wall if it's down to have a chat with me. So I'm not afraid to talk to people. And I felt that one thing I'll say about Austin, and I haven't lived a lot of places. I lived in Kentucky my whole life. This is the first place outside of Kentucky that I've lived for an extended period of time. But even when I visit other places, I find that people in Austin are really friendly and super approachable and open to just have random engagement and actually do activities with strangers more than any other city I've been to. And I think it's a byproduct of the fact that most people from Austin aren't from Austin. Most of them are transplants, and most of them are actively seeking new relationships because they don't have these hometown ingrained ones that you would have in a place where people don't do a lot of moving or been there their whole lives. So people are a lot more open to engage with people. So I found it's really easy to meet people in Austin. And almost all the friends that I've made are not from here. All of them have been, in one way, shape, or another, moved here in the last like 3 to 5 years or even less than that. So
wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
I find that Austin, because of the fact that everybody's a transplant, it makes it really easy to make friends because everybody is trying to find their in group.
So why Austin? Because you didn't know it was going to be friendly before you got here, right? Like, and I will say that Austin does, in totality, in general, it's just a friendly city. You know what I mean? It gets a bunch of like old weirdos and performers and musicians, but there's no way to know that, right? So, like, what made you decide Austin is the place?
It was a mix of things I heard from people who had been to Austin, things that I had read about online, things I had seen in YouTube videos, things I heard about, all these big companies moving out here to make it their headquarters, how
Okay.
young the city was. Oh, there's a lot of fitness activities because even before I was running, marathons, stuff like that, I knew I enjoyed fitness. I like going to the gym. I like hanging out with fit people. I like playing basketball. So I want to move in a city that's young, vibrant, and has a lot of those type of activities. And then also, I just really didn't like Kentucky. So in my mind, nothing could be worse than that. So that was really easy to flee the state because I didn't really want to be there. And I also, not as much nowadays, but affordability of all the things I wanted out of a city, it seemed like the most affordable option because, in between here, Miami, San Francisco, New York, et cetera, it seemed like this one was the most affordable. And there's also, I heard a lot of really good things about the state of Texas. I lived in Dallas for a couple of months for an internship I had my junior year summer. And I didn't really love Dallas, but I liked Texas. And I figured that all the things I didn't like about Dallas, Austin was a little bit different in those places. Also, on a financial level, I wanted to invest in real estate. I didn't want to pay state income tax. I wanted to be somewhere
Dang.
warm.
Yeah. All of it. Yeah.
All of that. I didn't want to pay taxes. I wanted to be somewhere where it's hot. So it just came together as a optimal place to be. And, I'm 4 years and counting, and I have not regretted my decision one time.
That's dope. I love it. Hey y'all, it's Nikki. We sure do love our live music here in Austin, and musicals are no exception. So there's a Broadway show in town I have to tell you about. Jersey Boys is a Tony-winning hit that tells the legendary story of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and it is on stage right now through March 2nd at the Zach Theater. It's a timeless, fun performance that celebrates friendship, fame, and iconic music. Plus, it is packed with chart-topping hits like Sherry, Big Girls Don't Cry, and my personal favorite, Can't Take My Eyes Off You. The leading man, Nick Anastasia, has a 1 in 10 million voice, according to the Austin American-Statesman. So don't miss out. Get your tickets at zachtheater.org. That's ZACH theater.org. And of course, I'll see y'all there. So you started your company in 2022, but you said that your inspiration came kind of from Pokemon Go, which launched in 2016. When did you come up with the idea for cardio? When did that idea spark, and when did you act on it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So it's a very nuanced timeline of when exactly I started it because technically officially incorporated 2022, but I got the idea all the way back in 2020. So, like a lot of people, I just graduated college in the middle of that. May 20, I graduated and I was stuck at home. I never really liked running. I always played sports or did other activities that required running as a way to get my cardio. I would never just go and run a mile by myself on the street. I would play basketball. I would go to the gym with friends.
Yeah.
We would just run around doing other different things. And I found that was a lot more useful for me because running just to run never engaged me enough to make me want to do it. So when COVID comes around, no basketball, no gym, you can't even really go to the state parks or anything like that. I found myself extremely unmotivated, didn't want to go run. And I wondered, is there a way to make running engaging and fun enough that I'd want to do it? Now I'm a social guy. I like to be with people. I like to do social activities. Social distancing make that extremely difficult. And then also on top of that, I like to win. I'm competitive. I want to have a win-loss type scenario. I want to compete. And so as I thought about that, I wondered what things out there existed that were like that in a distributed way. And Pokemon Go is one of the first things I thought about. And so the question became, can you make Pokemon Go a cardio fitness app? And that was a general question that became the catalyst of what would eventually become cardio. So that was 2020. I had bigger fish to fry. I was broke, jobless, in the middle of a pandemic, living in my dad's, spare bedroom, attic, whatever you want to call it. It depends on who you ask. So we got on the air mattress. As I was thinking through what I wanted to do in my life, this idea was kind of dormant because I had bills to pay. I wanted to get my life started. Around that time, October 2020 is when I moved to Austin, and I was living out of my car in an Airbnb and hotels for the first month and a half, 2 months, trying to get my life together before I finally came up with a business idea, started making me money, made some smart investments, finally got out of a hotel, finally got a place. And then from there, I started saving up, investing wisely. Once I got to a place around March 21 where I was finally financially stable enough to start pursuing some of these more grand visions, not just these small businesses and, investments in stocks and crypto. And I actually could go with something that was like a unicorn, Hail Mary type of startup idea. That's when I started really putting effort and time into this. I was reaching out to people. I was drawing up designs, coming up with ideas for it. In fact, initially thinking about COVID, the initial tagline for the company was "Go the social distance," because I was all about like finding a way to create social community without being around people during social distancing. But even now, the idea of people wanting to get together and be social, especially if you don't like waking up at 8 a.m., but you still want to feel like you're a part of a community and being able to engage with people even when you're by yourself, was something that was, very prevalent. And so come 2022, formalize it, get a CTO, start developing it, launch in 23, and then, 2 years later, here we are.
I'm guessing that you have told that story a lot, but holy shit, that is no small feat. Like it's like, yes, I was in my car and I was living, like that's a big deal. You came to a city, you lived in your car, and then you just pulled it together and got it together. That is a huge deal. I'm fascinated by people, and now I'm about to sound like a very old woman, but I'm fascinated by people your age that have this kind of tenacity and this stick-to-itiveness, and it's so second nature that you talk about it as if it's the most natural thing in the world. And it is not. It is a huge feat to have that much tenacity and forethought and focus when you're there. I was not thinking about this stuff when I was in my 20s. Like, it is incredible. It is incredible that you're like, I have a goal. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to reach that goal. And I'm a big fan of just like, when something is a big deal, saying it's a big deal. And that's just a big deal that you did that. So I don't know if you ever take the time to recognize that, but I hope that you do, because it's huge. It's huge. And so what kind of a role did Austin play in creating your app? Like, in getting funding? You were on Shark Tank. Like, what role did Austin play? Were you just inspired once you got here, or was it just not a part of the catalyst at all?
Oh, it was a big part of it. For one, run club culture is a big thing here. So my first users, my first run clubs came in Austin. When we first launched, we had a test version of the app that went live July of 22. And the first 25 people who ever used the app, like 10 or 12 of them lived here in Austin. Some of them still use the app to this day, and I'm very tight with, and I go to them for feedback even to this day, 2.5 years later. Some of the first run clubs and some of our most active groups are here in Austin. Some of the people who became my first partners, the Austin Marathon was our first strategic partner for the company ever. And obviously that is a reflection of being here in Austin. Then just the culture of it. It's a very young, vibrant, hustle culture type of place. There's a large community of people who are in their 20s who are building startups. And there's a lot of people who I could go to who are later in their journey who I've gone to for resources and access and advice. Capital Factory is a big group here, and I've gone there many times throughout the 2 or 3 years I've been working on this and getting advice, getting intros, getting advisors to join my team, talking to people who became my top users, and just getting general feedback on what we're doing and getting put in the right rooms in the right places and getting exposure to the people who I would not have met if I was still in Kentucky, more than likely. Then also, and this was, Austin to an extent, but just really any place that you really set your head down and say, I want to build something here. But I know that Austin definitively gave me this feeling of a blank canvas to build something from the ground up that I don't think I could have done as effectively in Kentucky.
I mean, it is among the top 10 cities in the country. And it just sounds like we're speaking a little bit about just like being in the right place and meeting the right people and having those opportunities. So last February, after going on Shark Tank and getting a deal, you had a challenge on your app for people to log a total of 1 million miles on your app. And then you donate 1 million to the Trail Foundation in return. Was the challenge a success? Because that sounds crazy. That sounds incredible. That sounds incredible to me.
Now, I would say we didn't get to 1,000,000 miles, but we were successful in raising some money for the trail. And I think more than anything, it was a great opportunity for us to put out to people a fun way to make their miles meaningful in helping one of the best parts of Austin, which is Lady Bird Lake, become a better place for people to walk and run. So I think in that sense, being able to leverage what we're doing with Shark Tank and at least driving awareness to getting people to go out there, be active, and then raise money for a great cause. I feel like even if it wasn't 1,000,000 miles, that's successful in itself.
I mean, it's a great idea. It's just a great idea. Okay, so tell me a little bit, just how does your app work? Tell me about the app. How does it work?
Yeah, so very similar to other apps like Strava and Garmin. As you're walking and running, it tracks in the background. So if you were to go from, let's say, you're on South Congress and you run all the way from like where the South Congress Bridge is all the way up to like Ben White, for instance, it would track you for that entire run, and you would be able to see your mile pace, your distance, calories, your route, all that information from that run the same way you would on any other app. But in addition to that information, you would actually claim and steal that area like a game of capture the flag against other people. So if you were to walk through that area and claim it for CityCast, and I'm on the cardio team, if cardio were to walk or run, doesn't matter your pace, through the area that was owned by CityCast, cardio would steal it from you. You would get a notification saying somebody on the cardio team stole it, and the only way to get it back would be to walk or run through that area again. And the idea is to create this fun social habit-forming loop of getting people to want to go outside, consistently walk and run, and then make this fun competition out of it and hopefully motivate people to run more often, run a little bit faster, and then even go and run and walk in places that you typically don't. We've had, 40% of our users say that they have gone to places they don't typically go to because they want to go and steal some turf from a specific user, or they want to go somewhere where no one's already claimed it. And the idea is just trying to help make running, which, let's just be honest, even as somebody who runs, it can be a little samey sometimes. There's only so many different ways to spice up running in circles. So finding a way to make that a little bit more engaging and a lot more compelling, especially when you're not a part of some big run club and you're just running by yourself.
So it's essentially like a turf war for like teams.
That's exactly what it is.
That's okay. So you can walk, bike, or run.
Yeah.
Is trying to see who can do that the most in an area, and you win that. Okay, so then I'm trying to figure out what's the most competitive turf in Austin then?
Oh, definitely the lake. The lake
Definitely,
for sure.
okay.
Yeah, the lake within 24 hours, if you go claim an area there, you're probably gonna lose it. So the lake for sure. Parts of downtown. Really any of the places that people in run clubs go, so like South Congress, Lady Bird Lake, any of the places that run clubs typically meet up, there's always at least one or two people there who are using it, or at least uploading for Strava to participate. So those are the places that typically are the most competitive. Parks, like in New York, the most competitive place would be Central Park. So there's a lot of places around the world that are hyper competitive, but anywhere that runners typically frequent, those are gonna be the places that are most difficult, which is why people like expanded out to the suburbs and run there and try to claim their turf in the suburbs, because that one's less competitive, less people running that way. And that's what makes it fun, is being strategic in where you're running beyond just running the run.
I love this. And so, okay, I just want to know your opinion about the future. So recently, Mark Cuban gave Fetty money, like just his own money outside of Shark Tank. He's not the only one. There seems to be so many people just kind of investing in Austin. There seems to be a lot of money coming into Austin for the tech industry. And so you are, let's say you're 10 years away from now. Do you still see yourself in Austin? Do you still see yourself creating and contributing to this tech world? Maybe 5 years. 10 years is a little bit much for the tech industry. Maybe
I mean,
5
a lot can happen in
years.
10 years. A lot
Can happen in 10 years. Let's say 5 years.
Pokemon Go didn't even exist 10 years ago, so a lot can
I
happen.
know. And then they just sold for what? 3.5 billion.
3.5? Yeah,
Woo.
yeah, I seen that. I would love to be able to do that one day. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, like, what do you think the tech community looks like in Austin? What do you think it looks like?
I think it gets a lot bigger. I think there's a lot of money. I think $5 billion was invested in Austin companies last year. I think that number could be like, yeah, right? That's a lot of money. So I think that number could be like 5 to 10x that by this time 5 years from now. I think also it'll be a lot more mature of a place, because even though we have South by Southwest and we got places like Capital Factory and we have some VCs here, I think we're still very new. We're kind of like catching up. We're growing faster than the companies here have caught up to. There's a lot of very
Yeah.
young startups like myself, like a lot of other ones that I'm contemporaries with, who are still catching their stride, who haven't become these huge companies yet. And obviously you got your Teslas and your Dells and Samsung and Google and all these other people who have offices or even headquarters here, Oracle. But I think there's going to be a lot of Austin-based companies that are startups right now that are going to become, maybe not on that same scale as a Dell, but become like those staple companies that people think of when they come to Austin, who are still in their early stages now, who are going to blow up. I also think, and this is not me being negative, this is not me being negative, but it's something that I think about a lot because every place starts like that. Like San Francisco started like that, New York started like that. And then as it becomes bigger, as the companies become bigger, as the salaries become bigger, then it starts becoming a little bit more siloed. It becomes a lot more cliquey. It becomes a lot harder to break into because now you've got this gold rush of people coming in here, and you got people who were here and start off in the small ecosystem, and now it's become a bigger one, and it starts becoming a little bit more, well, how do you earn my attention? And that's just normal. I mean, it happens any place where it starts having this big tech boom, is that once the boom is hit, and it starts off as a couple of people who are striking oil or getting gold, and then all of a sudden everybody comes to you seeking the same thing, and it becomes a little oversaturated. I'm curious what that's going to be like because it's happening to all these other big tech hubs. I pray it doesn't happen to Austin, at least on the scale of something like San Francisco, which now, I mean, no shade to San Francisco, but this is not the same place it used to be like a decade ago. So I'm curious to see where that goes, but I would like to say that hopefully I'll be a part of that group that becomes very successful in what they're doing and becomes that staple of Austin tech.
Same. I hope so because, that is something that's always on my mind. As a native Austinite, I'm always hyper aware of how the culture of the city is changing. And so I think about that all the time. I think about, are the people that are moving in, the tech people, as it's getting larger, is it going to change the culture of our city where you can't just meet somebody and walk up to somebody in a bar? Like right now, we are similar. There is nobody that I don't talk to. I strike up conversations all the time. I think that's one of the things that makes Austin special. And I agree with you. I think it's also one of the things that make it easier, or it assists in people being successful, because that's how you meet people. So hopefully we don't lose that. Now, I want to know, what advice do you have for people who are listening, who might be just getting into exercise and they might be intimidated or they might be worried? As someone who is now a part of this industry, what advice do you have?
Biggest advice I could give to anybody breaking into fitness is to just get started. I think fitness seems very daunting to people because they see it as, oh, I'm not in shape, I'll never be in shape. The people I'm going to be running or lifting or doing yoga with are going to be so much more advanced than me. And I will say there are some elitist type people who do have that mentality, but they are the vast minority. For the majority of people, they're going to look at you and say, hey, this person who might not be in the best shape decided to come out here and participate. They woke up at 8 a.m. to go walk, even just walking. They came up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, even when they could have been in bed hungover from the night before, or they could have just slept in and did something else and went to go get morning mimosas with their girls or whatever. They came and they decided to walk 2 miles. That in itself is a win. And I think that Austin, among most of the cities I've gone to, is more open to people who are not in shape starting their fitness journey, and they're very nice. I can say that the majority of people I've met have been amazing. I can name a very small number of people who I feel like came with a lot of clickiness and this, well, I'm better than you and you're not really a real runner or you're not a real this or whatever. It's a very small minority of people. And there's also another thing. This is with anything, like talking about me and my story. I started off in my car, broke as a joke. I didn't know how to build apps. I never built a company like this before. I never raised money. I never really ran a team of employees and engineers and whatnot. But you never know how to do anything until you start trying to do it. So if you aren't a good runner, or you're not a great lifter, or you suck at yoga, or whatever it is that your journey is, you're going to suck at everything when you first started. But the problem is not starting, because you can only get better if you actually make progress and you're consistent with it. So if you're not good at it now, well, when will you be if you don't start trying now? So you might as well just start now. No reason to wait.
And that's on that.
And that's that on that.
That's that on that. Thank you so much for being here and having this chat with me. Honestly, this is inspiring. I love it. It just makes me extremely happy to see people, like specifically young people, come in and create the space that they want in the cities that they move to. I love your whole story. I love everything. Thank you for being here. Thanks for taking the time. I'm telling all my runner friends about your app. I'm excited.
I appreciate you. Hopefully I see you out there. We outside Saturdays.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Destin's app in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.